Hey, yo, and welcome back to the Boston Sports Brothers podcast, fully loaded bro show this evening. Gentlemen, how are ya?
Doing
Doing
well.
well.
Doing
Another
good.
Monday.
Oh,
We
That's
got our
right.
100th
I saw that. I saw
show,
that.
baby.
Wow.
100th.
Get up for 100. Let's go.
Triple digits.
Triple digits for the bros, 100 episodes, as Gabe mentioned, and J-Matt and Biggie. I think if you asked any of us when we started this podcast almost 2 years ago, if we were to get to 100 episodes, we would have said, you're fucking nuts. There's no chance that these five guys sitting here would be as consistent as we've been. But I'll tell you a few things to lead it off, and we'll do our usual show. But it's been fantastic to get together with some of your best buddies every week and be able to shoot the breeze. But we've also set out to have on some fantastic guests and some fantastic moments throughout the course of the show. So our Oh Yeah and Yeah Oh segment tonight is just going to be sort of looking back at the entire 100 episode run, 2-year run of the show, and some of the Oh Yeahs and Yeah Ohs throughout the course of the show's history. So we're going to do all of that. We'll get everybody's takes on things, and it will sort of be a trip down memory lane when we get to that part of the show. But as always, we got to start with the round town fellas and getting the fine listeners and viewers updated with everything that's going on across the Boston sports landscape. Football has arrived. Football is back in its sort of rightful spot as the number one topic here in town. We'll certainly talk baseball as well as the Red Sox continue on with their season, but we're starting football. And J-Matt, there's a lot to start to get into when it comes to the Patriots. We have a preseason game to recap. We have one to look forward to this week. I'll give it to you, my friend, to set the stage. We'll get everybody's takes and we'll get moving and grooving, baby.
Yeah. So football was in the air last Thursday night. Sat down on the couch around 7:30 and I flipped on the broadcast. Great broadcast, by the way. I have to say, we are very blessed with the broadcast of the Patriots preseason with the McCourty twins and Zolak. I just want to throw that in there. But to the game, football's back in a preseason way. Let's put it that way. We're definitely watching some guys in the second half. They're going to be some car salesmen, probably looking at some insurance agents a little bit. But for the most part, the first quarter, second quarter, you do have guys that are really capable of playing for your team and making a difference. That being said, I think Tommy DeVito was okay. I think he made some good throws. I also think he made some not great throws. So very inconsistent. Would love to see a little bit more out of him in the next couple of games. But Kyle Williams, I think we can all agree was great. He had a great touchdown grab, put a good move on his guy, and has some good hands and showed what he can do out there. So hopefully that really turns into something this year with Drake May. The other thing I wanted to talk about, two things, was Andy Borregales missing 3 field goals. He went 2 for 5 on the night. Not great, missing a 49-yarder to win the game, which you kind of want because we know it's a preseason game and it means nothing. But for a guy in that situation, you still have that mental, like, I need to go out there and win this game and hit it for the guys. And like, they're guys that did put a lot of work in and played that game. So you hate to see that. You don't want to see your kicker go out there in the first game and do that. And then the last thing was Lomu. I think Lomu kind of got a little exposed. He's still getting his feet wet, of course, but there were some throws where DeVito got crushed, and it was definitely him letting his blocker in and getting to the quarterback. So overall, again, it's preseason game number 1. There's some good takeaways, but for the most part, it's you really don't see a ton of guys that are going to make like the real impact on day one, game 1.
Excellent. Anyone take it next in terms of thoughts from the game or sort of looking ahead to the rest of the preseason and what's ahead in training camp? I see our collared shirt friend Big E ready to go, looking fine tonight.
Yeah, I think just like when you think about preseason, I think about slop and penalties, and oh my God, were there penalties galore in this game. I think the interesting thing was, I think DeVito's numbers were really not great. He did have that one touchdown pass that he threw to Kyle Williams, but there were a lot of explosive plays that actually I thought DeVito had kind of facilitated, but they all were victims of the yellow penalty flag. So I think it goes to show that preseason necessarily isn't always what you see in the stat line. It's kind of what you're watching on the field. And yeah, I mean, I still don't know if I love DeVito being the backup, but I think you have to talk about the penalties and make sure that that's a big part of the story because holy crap, was it sloppy.
And to bring it back an episode, what Karen was talking about when I asked her, about, not really what was going on the field as far as the preseason game goes, but, how much, weight they hold. And she alluded to a lot of it is on the practice field with the first reps and Drake May. And that kind of stuck out in my head when, watching this game. Like you said, it really kind of puts a lot more weight into what she said, that really is the case. For the most part, a lot of these guys coming out in the first preseason game, Josh, like you said, they're going to be low salesmen or car salesmen and in the next couple of months or on a practice squad somewhere like that. But those are the guys that are really trying out for the games right now. I just remember it was somebody's birthday and we did like a
Games.
Giants. But even those games, like Brady would come out for the first quarter or first couple of drives and then go and sit. So it just seems like since like then, like the last 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is, you start seeing a lot less of those like A1 guys, 1A guys, so to speak. And your premier players will start coming out towards the end of preseason, and that's when you really kind of look at things and get a grasp of what this team's going to kind of look like. But like we talked about, it doesn't mean anything until you step on the field and actually take that first drive.
Dave, jump in.
Yeah, I was excited for this first preseason game just to see kind of what the depth was like for the Patriots. They had what I thought is a pretty darn good draft this year, and I wanted to see those players in game action. And I don't think they necessarily disappointed. Jam Miller, running back from Alabama, played pretty well in the absence of Terrell Jennings, who unfortunately is on the IR now. So Jam Miller's a name to look out for, I think, to step up into that running back 3 position behind Ramondre and Henderson. And then you had Eli Raridan, the rookie tight end, had a really nice grab in like the first quarter, I think it was. And Josh, you alluded to it. Lomu was, I believe, the guilty party for the penalty that brought that play back. But Eli Raridan, another name that like I'm excited to continue watch his game grow as these weeks go on. And obviously gotta throw in a Gabe Akis take here. And I thought he was pretty decent. He definitely sets a good edge. He's kind of like all over the field. He didn't really do much. He had 3 tackles, but you see the potential there, and I think that he could end up being a really big piece in our defense this year. Speaking of defense, force turnovers, gotta love that. Definitely gonna have to force turnovers this year to get some big wins. So yeah, those were kind of my takes. Just happy to see some of the young guys finally on the field and checking out what they can bring to the team this year.
I think that's the best part, sort of getting to see who are those depth pieces going to be. What do you sort of have from a roster standpoint at each position, as you guys mentioned. One of the things from a depth standpoint was the O-line, where you had Ben Brown go down, guy who slotted in at guard and center last season. And so the Patriots did make a move about an hour ago. They signed veteran guard Greg Van Roten to the roster, so last played with the Giants. And so adding some depth there, so that doesn't mean good things, probably not for Ben Brown, but hope to get him back. And so, training camp rolls on this week, 2 big joint practices against the Eagles, preseason game against the Eagles on Thursday night. I think if there is a game where the starters may play, this might be it. Although if you're looking at 2 joint practices, it very well could be the same sort of thing that we just took a look at. So be interested to see some of the reports that come out throughout the next 2 days from joint practices. And then, the biggest question looming over the Patriots right now is with Devin Witherspoon getting his deal done, you now have Gonzalez sort of up to bat, if you will. So, J-Matt, let's talk a little bit about that. Anything from your end or what you're thinking in terms of, where the Patriots go and when, if at all, does this get done?
Yeah, so at this point, this deal has to get done, and I'm starting to begin to think that this is all on Gonzalez, and maybe he's asking for too much, and he's really trying to reset the market. Because I do think that the Kraft ownership values him, and they do see what he brings to the team, and that if he's not there, their defense is a lot different. So I think that they would get the deal done if he's asking for money in the similar range of Witherspoon, obviously a little bit more, but not significantly more. So I'm beginning to think it's on Gonzalez. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think he needs to have some realistic expectations. He's also under contract next year, so it's really not like he's this is one and done year. So he might need a reality check. So I'm not really sure how that's going to go, but I think the deal needs to get done sooner rather than later.
And that's the biggest question is do we really think that the safety position or the cornerback position is, akin to the wide receiver position? And, I get the points made by Gonzalez where, they're playing on that side of the ball, but just different sides. But at the end of the day, I guess the people upstairs that take care of the business and do all those kind of things can really kind of figure that out. But when you do have someone to Christian Gonzalez's caliber where he can shut down offensively one side of the field, you do have to pay him. And I think the Crafts, like you said, gave him a deal that was probably well beyond what we're seeing what Witherspoon got. But again, what we talked about is he's trying to reset that market. And I don't really think there's a market for him to reset quite yet. I think he's pushing it in the right direction, but I don't think he's going to make the significant leap like he thinks he's going to, which makes me think, like you said, Josh, it kind of falls back on him.
I think at the end of the day, like, is the question, is he trying to reset the cornerback market or is he trying to get paid like a top defensive player? Because there's a big difference there between the two. And candidly, one thing I do want to also state too, I honestly don't care how much money he ends up making. It's not my money, it's the Crafts money. So I don't know why anyone sitting here would be like, what's this $1 million gonna do? Like, at the end of the day, if that's the difference between keeping him or not keeping him, it's well worth it because what the caliber player he
I don't
is.
think $1 million would do it.
I'll push back on that because what Karen said though is if he gets 15% more than what that is, then Drake May is going to ask for 15% more of that, and then it's a domino effect. So if he does try and reset the market to that extent, then it's just going to be a domino effect on signing your top end players for X amount of dollars, which is going to hurt the team overall in the long run. So I think for the team and for him and everything, I think it'd be better if he could just get this deal done in the Witherspoon ballpark and call it a day.
I think it's likely going to be within the Witherspoon ballpark. I think Witherspoon got an average of 32. If I had to guess, I'm going to guess Gonzalez is going to end up around 34 or 35. That's my guess. I don't know how good that is, but that's if he's trying to stay within the cornerback market. If he's trying to get paid more like a wide receiver or defensive end, I don't think that's happening. So that to me is really the story here is if he signs a deal, he will be the newest highest paid cornerback. If he doesn't sign a deal, he's looking for way more money than a cornerback is making these days.
And I don't personally think anyone would give that to him anywhere.
I just think the Crafts need to take a look at what Seattle's doing. They pay their young guys that they draft and build through their system, and JSN got a huge contract extension through the Seahawks, and now they extended one of the best corners, Devin Witherspoon. Like, take a page out of their book and sign your own guy. Like, Gonzo's done nothing but prove that he belongs on the field. He had a great game in a Super Bowl that they got completely washed out in. He's one of the few people that actually stood out. Like, just pay the guy. I mean, the fact that between him and Drake May could be a third of like the cap space that you're spending on the whole team is kind of a nutty concept, but I'm sure the cap will continue to grow, and you just got to lock him up and make the guy happy at this point.
Undoubtedly, Gabe. I think that's what you got to do is pony up the money. I think if you're Gonzalez as well, if you're getting, what Big E said, or even a little bit more, it's wise of you to sign that deal. The minute you go out there and start to play, you never know what can happen. So to have the security of $140 million, $150 million deal and not pushing it to a point where you're not going to be able to get it done would be wise from his part as well. So the Crafts have the money. It's a homegrown player, as Gabe mentioned, somebody who stood out, especially with the Patriots and the way that they go about their business. The defensive side of the ball and Vrabel and what they do there is really what carried them throughout that playoff run. And so they're going to need him. And he's still getting better. He's only in his fourth season. He's still a guy that's on the rise. So fantastic player. Also, you got to give a shout out to the Gillette crowd the other night at the preseason game. Tarps off and got some juices going there at the end. So that was great to see. So we'll continue on with the Patriots, fellas, and keeping tabs on everything going on. Hopefully by this time next week, we have a highly paid cornerback that's happy. We're going into preseason game number 3 with the Scrabinos playing, and we get ready for that matchup against Seattle. that will be taking place on Wednesday, September 9th. I can't believe it.
So
We got
weird.
three weeks from Wednesday, we'll be having football action.
Hate it.
So
It
we're
feels
excited
so
for
weird
that.
to play on a Wednesday. Like it just
It
feels
will be
sacrilege.
weird, but it's that sort of kickoff to the season game. So that will be great. I just want to sprinkle in a few other football notes as we head into college football season as well. So we will be previewing that. We have the great John Meter Perrell, who's the voice of the BC Eagles. He's going to be joining us 2 weeks from now to talk about the opening of BC season in college football as a whole. So we're excited to have him on. And then the return of Jerry Thornton. He's coming back with us to recap that first game against Seattle in mid-September. So there's some guest announcements for the listeners to
Might be
looking
recapping
forward to.
something else with Jerry too.
Hopefully
Yeah.
we're talking, it's that after sex glow, baby, that we're going to be talking about with Jerry that episode. A team that has lost a little bit of its glow over the last week or so is the Boston Red Sox. Not the best road trip for them, going 2-4. Still in a position to make the playoffs, still in a fine spot when it comes to the wild card and sort of the big picture view. But Sammy K, the hot streak has definitely come to an end. But there's a few things I think we got to talk about in terms of, what happens between today and the end of the season as live review. And we have a 1-0 lead as who the fuck was that? Who's number 38? Who's
Someone
number
named
38 on the
someone
Red
named
Sox?
White. Someone named
Eli White.
Eli White.
Oh,
Eli
this
White.
He was
Eli
the
White,
outfielder that
okay.
we traded for.
Yeah, from the
Mickey
Braves.
Gasper.
From the Braves.
hits a single and brings in Durbin, and
The
Sox take a
Terminator.
1-0 lead here
2-0
against Arizona. My 88 on full display there. Sammy K, let's get back into the week that was for the Red Sox. Let's talk about it. The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, and just as you spoke, Sogard just doubled to center, so we got another man in scoring position. So let's just keep talking about the Sox. But yeah, no, a little skid. They went 5-7,
2-7.
Keep shitting on them.
2-5.
between
No,
Toronto.
2-7. 2-7.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. My math is wrong. Yeah. So that, a little bit of a slide, some injuries kind of have gone to them, but again, not 100% concerned. One of the things that we have really kind of talked about was Adley Rutschman and, his kind of slump that he's in. The one good thing I do want to talk about is a lot of these outs that he's getting are strikeouts. So that's telling me that he's either a little too late on the ball or he's, just trying to get his, bearings underneath him, which is a lot better than someone that is, let's say, trying to fight through an injury. And so I would rather have him do that or try to do too much the first couple of weeks to try to get himself settled into a groove where he finally feels comfortable at Fenway, because there's, again, like I said, there's really not many very good switch hitting catchers in the league, and we happen to just score one of them. So I really think this is just kind of a blip in the radar, and he'll find his way once he kind of starts going. But more so than anything, other reinforcements that I believe we do have coming back, a lot of good news, more so on fronts as far as injuries go than bad news. We still kind of have to figure out what's going on with Curtis Mead. They decided to kind of just let it heal in a brace or a cast, and then they're going to take another image of it to see what it looks like. That one's kind of a coin flip because you really don't know what's going to happen. You're really depending upon his body doing the right thing and hoping that the image looks correct. Whereas a lot of these other guys are actually taking strides and getting themselves ready to hop onto the field. A couple of big guys in particular. One, and I know we don't really love him that much, but it's our friend Trevor Story. He's slated to potentially come back on Friday. Again, he had a sports hernia. It's tough to judge a player when they're playing through an injury, especially one like that when lateral movement is pretty much all they do. So it'll be interesting to see what he looks like if he's actually healthy and can contribute, because when he was with Colorado, he was one hell of a player, especially a pull hitter. So it would definitely be a great addition to get that bat back into a lineup, especially one that's already comfortable with the franchise and isn't going to try to go out there and do too much. But other than that, I mean, for the most part, Yoshida, again, kind of an older guy, got a hammy issue, not really that much big of a deal. But I'm more concerned with like Garrett Crochet and getting him back on track. What?
No, the dog. Cookie. What you barking at, buddy?
Do you guys hear Cookie?
Oh yeah, he's good.
I don't even hear Cookie. I got my noise canceling headphones in.
No, he's barking away. But Sammy, no, I agree with you. I think I I don't know how to segue into that one. I tried. No, Sammy, I agree. The Sox, the benefit of what they did in the last month and a half of baseball is you can afford to go on a 2-7 slump, and things appear bad right now, but they should right the ship. And with some of the reinforcements they're getting back, I think Crochet, if he does come back, it's going to be in a bullpen role. It's not going
I
to be
was just gonna
not going to
say
be
it's
in the
gonna be in a
starting role.
relief kind of a way, or what
Yeah.
they're doing with Bayo. A couple
So
of
that
innings.
actually might bode well
Bode
with
well,
with
yeah.
Whitlock, with his I would say more than little, but his elbow inflammation. So it the story thing I'm a little torn on. I don't know, 50-50. I could see it going well, I could see it going bad, but you'd rather have him on your bench than not, I think, especially when it comes time to play playoff baseball. So I'm excited. I think they're gonna right the ship against some of these teams in August. And the one benefit that they really have is that the AL is just an absolute crapshoot. I was looking at the standings, and the last team, the fifth team in the AL East, I think is like this eighth overall best team in the AL. So it's kind of crazy that the AL is that down. So they have that which bodes well for them.
Think with Trevor Story, if you can get him anything close to back to what he was last year and giving you some sort of production, it'd be huge. Fills a hole. You can put Monasterio over at second base while you sort of wait to see if Meade is able to come back and keep. Monasterio deserves a huge amount of credit for what he's done to keep that position, defensively okay, but offensively he's given you more than you could have ever asked for. So looking forward to Story hopefully being back and being back into form. I think the other injury is Slayton, who, you have some bullpen arms that are down right now. So in the likes of somebody like Chapman, who's already, been used for 40 innings, that's going to be something to monitor. If Crochet can come back and give you the opportunity to come in for an inning or two out of the bullpen, that'd be absolutely huge.
Closer Crochet. Whoa.
I don't even know. I could see him coming in as a seventh, eighth inning guy to go through 2 innings in the back end of the lineup, go through the lineup sort of once, between somewhere in the range of 40 to 50 pitches per an outing. I think you sort of look at Chris Sale back in 2018 and hopefully he can do something similar to that, give you something there. The other guy that we haven't mentioned that's also in a rehab assignment right now is Roman Anthony. And so there's another huge guy that you're waiting to come into play to be able to get into the outfield. With Yoshida going down, you sort of, I think you got to put Duran on the bench, or you figure out what you do at DH and maybe Anthony and him sort of alternate there. But he's a bat that you need to get back in there as well. Gabe and Big E, any thoughts on the Sox? Anything that sticks out to you over the past couple of weeks in the hot start or the hot stretch and now? Go ahead, Gabe.
Roman Anthony, I mean, I really think he could pop off once he returns in the lineup. The Sox sent away his best friend in Marcelo Meyer, and people have been talking a lot of shit about his injury and how he's a pussy and should be playing through that injury and not, babying it as much as he has. And I think that he might come up with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder and kind of like I'll show you attitude. And hopefully that's true, because the Sox could really use a little bit of pop in their lineup right now. And I hope that Roman Anthony is the one to bring it, with all the hype that he's had throughout his career. And although it's been short-lived so far, I think this is a huge opportunity for him to kind of shove it back in our faces, if that makes any sense.
And he starts tomorrow in what's it called, AA Portland, on a rehab assignment. So we should be seeing him very shortly.
Yeah, the only thing I want to add in here is, clearly the Sox are on a little bit of a skid right now after that absolute amazing tear that they went on. I'm probably a little bit more concerned than Sam is at this point, and maybe more than all of you, because I'm looking ahead at the schedule and seeing what's left in front of us. And let me tell you, a lot of teams the Sox are facing between now and the end of the season have decently good records. There are a few cupcakes later in September, like the Angels, but as we know, you can lose a game to the Angels just like every other. So I'm sitting here looking at the lineup and candidly, or the schedule, and the rest of this month does not look particularly easy. So it's really going to be a tell for me how they do over these next 2 weeks to really determine, are they contenders or are they pretenders? So, and that to me, I think is something that's worth talking about.
So here's the thing. I want to back up all the way to the beginning, well, to what's it called? Midway through the season when we were talking about, are they going to be contenders or are they real? And it all depends on how they come out of the second half. And they came out of the second half pretty strong against some really good teams. I do agree with you because they do, they're facing the likes of Texas, Tampa Bay, Cleveland, and Chicago at the end of the year, and that's those are all teams that were either vying for a wild card spot, competing with for an AL East division spot, or someone we could see in the World Series in Chicago. So again, you're right. The rest of the schedule is pretty strong, but for the Red Sox sake, even though it was a very hot start or whatever it was you want to call it that they went on, they did come out of the second half and they did what we wanted them to do. So I feel like it's going to continue to happen.
But that's a good test for this team. If they do go ahead against these good teams and end the season with a good record and potentially overtake that first wild card spot, it'll be great for this team and it'll be a great story because I think the run that they've had earlier in the season, I mean, yes, they were against, good teams, but can they consistently do it against like the great teams like the Chicago at the end of the year? Like, will they do something against them? The Yankees again they have coming up. Like, will they sweep them again? I don't know. If they do, that's going to show us some balls. So we'll see what this team really has over the next, 6 weeks or so, and then comes playoff baseball, which we all know it's a great time to be in Boston and New England in playoff baseball.
And going back to one of the earlier points too, you mentioned how like even the last place team in the AL East would be the 8th best team in the AL. They have a number of games that are in division between now and the end of the season. So like they really need to kind of win those at minimum 500, and realistically, they need to kind of win those probably closer to a 600 clip in order to really
I
kind of
agree.
solidify their positioning.
Win
I
series.
Got to get back to winning series here. That's really what it comes
That's
down
what
to.
it-
You
yeah.
got, if you're going to have 6 games over the course of the week, go 4-2, 3-3 at worst. If you're going to have 7, you got to get that 4-3 record, and that's what's going to allow them to stay firmly where they're at. I do think it would be huge if they somehow are able to overtake the Yankees and be able to get that wild card series at Fenway Park. I think we saw that last year. The importance of being at home in the playoffs. There has not been a home playoff game at Fenway Park since 2021. So it's time to get some playoff baseball back in Boston.
Was that the one against the Yankees too? I
That
think
was
it was
against the Yankees, but
the
then
playoff game.
you went
Then
to
like-
the ALCS
yeah, then
and
the Houston.
eventually,
Yeah, it was
yeah,
Houston.
exactly, flamed out against Houston there.
I was
So
there in person. It sucked.
a few of us were. It was not a fun time
I think they're one of
at
the
that game.
Can't remember.
But that's everything going on with the Red Sox, really soup to nuts in terms of all the different things from a schedule standpoint, from how they've performed to, what's going on with the roster. So we'll continue to check in, and hopefully this team is able to get back on to their winning ways. Big E and Gabe, for that matter, we're going to talk Celtics and Bruins here. Let's just give each of you a minute to sort of give any updates at all in terms of what's going on with either of the teams or anything from around the leagues. Big E, we'll start with you in the NBA, and then we'll go to Gabe for the NHL and the Bruins, and we'll keep moving and grooving. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, 2 quick stories around the NBA. Not really much going on with Celtics. First quick one is dropped today on ESPN that apparently Stephen Ballmer has been cleared of any wrongdoing, which basically sounds like the NBA is shoving this right under the rug. Pablo Torres, I believe, has some things to say about this, and I still think that this saga is not done. I think that more evidence is going to come out, and I think it's going to be more damning for the Clippers and Ballmer. So we'll see what happens with that. And then we're going to stay on the West Coast in LA with a pretty large story that broke between last week and this week with the Los Angeles Lakers being sold for a record like $12.9 billion, 12.6 to Bob Iger and one of the Kushner kids. And news came out today as well that the Buss family was going to sell their 17.8% stake, and then Jeannie Buss basically came out with a letter from her lawyer and said, not so quick, brothers and sisters. So
Wow.
more drama brewing with those Los Angeles Lakers. They've had a great offseason so far. They've lost LeBron. They've just signed all these white guys, and now their ownership is in turmoil. So It's good to see.
Wouldn't be surprised if LeBron might have known that there was going to be some nonsense going on from a team ownership standpoint, if that might have played a role in him saying, "Let me go find somewhere else to go." Because I did find it surprising that he left. I'm sorry
But
to
I'm gonna
interject.
leave
Did you
my
though? Did
child
you? I
there.
mean, they weren't. I don't think they're anywhere closer to contending in the West specifically than with all
They've
these
gotten
signings they
worse.
did than they were last year.
No,
They
definitely
just
not.
signed a
So
flurry of guys, really.
8 different
I mean, that's all they did.
championship teams in the last 8 years, though. I don't know. So everyone has
Yeah, you
just
never
as good
know.
as a chance as anyone
The
else right
Lakers
now.
will not be one of them, I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
it will not be the Lakers this year. I can tell you that.
excellent. Good stuff from around the NBA. Eric, thank you for the NBA. Gabe,
You're welcome.
let's shift to the NHL. Anything going on in the hockey world?
NHL. No, I can't say I can give you a great Eric speech there, but we have 43 days from season opener, so that's something to look forward to. And I wouldn't be surprised if there were maybe some trades coming along the way for the Boston Bruins. I think Pavel Zacha's kind of been talked about a little bit, Casey Middlestat, some of these kind of like fringy guys that, I mean, do help the team in the short term, but will they help them in the long term? And what can you get value wise for them now versus kind of waiting on that? So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe some moves before the season gets started. But I'm ready to go, ready for the Bruins goal horn.
Gabe, I saw that they've been putting a lot of Connor Clifton out on the socials recently. I think he's very happy to be back in Boston.
Cliffy Hockey, yeah, he that was a funny signing. I was like, oh, like kind of it's like old times. But I think
So Bruins.
it's so Bruins, but like he's definitely matured more as a player and is way more of like a veteran kind of I think he's kind of smartened up a little bit. He was more of a dumb kid when he was here and made a lot of mistakes, but I think he's gotten better over the years.
Definitely improved. Happy to have him back. They're going to need him defensively this year, and
Yeah.
hopefully, he'll certainly be a part of the top 6. Will he be a top 4? Yet to be seen. One thing about the Bruins that somebody mentioned, the goal horn. One of the best things about the goal horn is not only when the Bruins score, but how they've repurposed it across all of Boston sports. It's the third down horn at Gillette when the defense is on the field and you're trying to rile everybody up. And also, I've realized they've started to do it at Fenway. If there's like 2 strikes in the count and they're trying to get the strikeout, or it's been a long at bat, it's 3-2, sort of that sort of deal. So the goal horn across all Boston sports, we love it, as well as the song
Let's
that
see
goes
it at
with
free throws.
I'm ready for the goal song.
Celtics.
That's what I'm worried. That's what I'm ready for.
Little Zombie Nation. We love
Hell
this.
yeah.
We love Zombie Nation. We also love this segment, Biggie. Why don't you make another speech for us?
My goodness, it's 100. So let me tell you, this is a special one. I'm gonna warm up the pipes here. I'm gonna get ready. But for episode 100, real special. There are some things that they just happen and we don't like. We really don't like them. We actually kind of despise them. We really, some might even say hate. Some might say we hate them, right? And those things, yeah, get out of here, right? Just get out of here, okay? And then there are the things that, the sweet nectar, the things that we wake up, the things that make me wake up in the morning and want me to get up and scream from the top of my bed. And, when I think about these things, I just think about how wondrous, stupendous, fantastic, and just all the great adjectives you can think of. And when I think of this, there's one phrase that comes to mind, and it gives me. Can I get you guys involved in this one too? Can I
Do
get
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Let's go. It's time for the yellow and the
It's like a monster truck
Listeners-
rally.
Listeners, we
Literally.
apologize to any speakers broken.
Let's get into it, boys.
Yang?
Perhaps the best.
Yeah.
He's going to start yodeling before we know it. Let's get into it. So the first set of oh yeahs and yeah ohs that we have tonight are going to be sort of the weekly standard oh yeahs and yeah ohs that we have. And then we'll get into 100 episode oh yeahs and yeah ohs and sort of taking a walk down memory lane, as we mentioned off the top. So Sammy K, I believe you might have thrown this first one in here. Why don't you take it?
Yeah, Brett. Yeah, right before the recording of the episode tonight, I was kind of scrolling through the socials and doom scrolling, and I saw a video that Nesson posted of all of the Diamondback players pregame wearing Jimmy Fun shirts. It's Jimmy Fun time right now, so the more money, the better. If you can go out there, make a difference, and donate, and try to put an end to cancer that's affected everybody in some certain shape, way, or form, it would be awesome. But I think that was great to see, just all of them in the what's it called? The Fenway City Connect green monster shirts was really cool to see. So for me, that was my of the week so far.
Absolutely. Got to give a lot of credit to the Jimmy Fund, Nesson, WEEI for every year coming to the table and raising millions and millions of dollars for charity. Always probably one of the best charitable events in the entire city. So quite honestly, hats off to them for doing it. It's fantastic. Some of the stories you hear, what the Jimmy Fund does, for research, but also for all the kids and some of the things that they do, experiences. You see all these players go into the Jimmy Fund all the time in the hospitals and sort of make these kids stay. So just a fantastic partnership for the Red Sox and a big, oh yeah. Who's got the next?
I think
got
that's
this one.
where I think that's where I sent my bar mitzvah money, was to the Jimmy Fund.
I love that.
Hey,
Look at you. What a mensch.
That's awesome. What a mensch.
Not
Was that-
all
was
of
that
it.
your-
Jeez.
I needed a car when I was 16.
The coon along.
No. What did we call that project we
Ted's-
had at
Ted's death.
do you remember, Josh? Do you remember it was like we had to do a project or something?
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
A mitzvah project.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a mitzvah project. It was something
don't
else.
know.
That's what it sounds
That's
like.
talking Jews with the bros.
what a mensch that game is, donating to the Jimmy Fund.
Yeah.
First time that's happened.
All right. For real. Who's got the next?
I got the next one. All right. Can we get for the Captain Plotty and Mrs. P for the voyage
First
to
mate.
Monaco?
First
Yeah.
mate, Mrs. P.
Yeah. I would say not just first mate, Mrs. P. She is the Dex 2 combo of all time. Just getting an anchor raised, making sure that everyone's fed. But seriously, huge shout out to the Plotkins for
Agreed.
hosting the Boston Sports Brothers for a nice little pre-100 episode voyage out on the high seas.
Just a great time on the Narragansett Bay, and two great hosts, great boat, great times, great people, great energy,
Great tunes.
great tunes. Yeah, just it was a fun day. And yeah,
Rough Riders.
Eric, did you enjoy your little pilot experience?
I did. I got to drive the boat for a little bit, and let's
Captain?
just say I was quite giddy.
Ear to ear.
Thank God I didn't know.
You were the captain now.
I'm the captain now.
Eric was the captain now. Eric did some real boating up there at the captain's seat, little coaching going on. It was great. It was a great day. Gabe, you were very much missed. I know you got a lot going on the home front with the big move that's happened recently, and we know it's been great for you. And we've all gotten to experience the boat over the years. There's nothing better as we've all, gotten a little older and gotten into our houses. We've all gotten to go to each other's places as well. So, the podcast and the fact of the matter is we're real friends outside of the show. Like, we don't just do the show and show up every week. We've all known each other for 15, 20 years at this point. Gabe knowing the Matulski bros for going 30 plus. Like, when people come at us or say anything, it's like, we sometimes we get together, we don't even talk about the show. Like, that's how good of friends we are. So nothing better than spending time with you fellas. Love it. We'll do it again soon. And it was a great, great day. So I got a few oh yeahs and yeah ohs to get through here. The first one I got to give is a oh yeah to Olivia Dean. That's why I wasn't on the show last Monday. She had the TD Garden in the palm of her hand. Fantastic performer, and really made the 20,000 person arena feel like an intimate experience in a concert. So well done. Hats off to her. It was a great time and really, really enjoyed it. And then it wouldn't be our 100th episode with somehow, some way, there being some sort of drama with those fucking clowns at WEEI. I'm going to go off right now. Give me my rant. Just give me a minute here. Ted Johnson went on an absolute rant last week, sort of
Mr.
unhinged rant on the show, sort of shitting on podcasts, saying you wish you had this job and all this other stuff in terms of why he's the best thing since sliced bread that's been on the radio. The fact of the matter is Ted Johnson wouldn't have a job on the radio if he didn't play for the Patriots. He's followed Rich Shirt and Leaves sort of everywhere over the course of the last couple of years. He's been on WEEI. he's been okay. His takes are fine sometimes, but also he just bashes Belichick at every turn. But this sort of unprovoked sort of nonsense when it comes to all the podcasts, and we're a small fish in a big sea, being completely honest, but there are other folks out there from a podcast standpoint that fucking pale in comparison to what WEEI does. You look at the likes of Pardon My Take, you look at the likes of Pat McAfee. These podcasts drive the fucking narrative more than anything else. And so for him to go at all the podcasts and like the other things outside of what he's doing was just sort of crazy. And then the stuff on Twitter, he just went off. I called him out, and in his 2 a.m. response was just something that was crazy. It kind of went viral outside of our sphere. It was Barstool picked it up with Mutt, but it was nuts. I don't know if you guys have any takes on this situation or anything to say about it, but to me, it was just like, fuck Ted Johnson. This guy just is working in Boston because he was a Pats player, and that's pretty much it.
Do you know who he
Yeah,
reminds me of? Is the Grimm? Benjamin Grimm, the Thing from the Fantastic Four. That's all I can think of is when I see that guy.
You're besmirching the Thing's good name, So I would say my quick thought here on Ted Johnson is, Ted, who the hell are you to go after Jerry Thornton? Like that is bad practice to talk poorly about someone that used to be on the same radio station that you are on today. And you want to good on Jerry for being like, fine, I'm happy to meet with him. But like at the end of the day, like you come after someone who's been on our podcast, you come after us. So Ted Johnson, good luck to you, buddy. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck to you on a radio station that's changed the afternoon show 8 times in God knows how many years.
Failing.
So that's all we'll say about that. Thank you, boys. All right. Now
Go
it's the special
98.5.
yeahs and yeah-ohs. This might be a little bit all over the place in terms of things. Actually, you know what I'll say, fellas? I'll sort of say the overarching theme to these and then give any thoughts that you have. These are all oh yeahs. So the first oh yeah is to all the guests, but in particular, our biggest thank you has to be to 98.5 The Sports Hub and the folks that have joined us from that station. So fellas, anything that anyone wants to say about any of the guys that have joined us, and girls, perhaps, from the Sports Hub over the course of 100 episodes. Everyone give 30, 60 seconds.
My thought is, if you told me again, what, two years ago, that we would have had so many names from 98.5 The Sports Hub as guests on this podcast, and that's all thanks to you, Plotty, because you were the man behind scheduling all these guests, and it's truly kudos to you. But it's incredible, the names. Like, these guys are on the radio day in and day out. They're not, some of them aren't absolute regulars, but some of them are. Like, literally every single day they are on that radio, and it's pretty incredible. So I think that it's also kudos to us too as a podcast for showing up every week. So you got to give yourself a pat on the back, everyone. So, but really big shout out to 98.5 and the production and the talent they produce, and thanks, guys, we really appreciate it.
I think just to add to that too, I think the cool thing about working with 98.5 is, like you mentioned, these are guys that we all like listen to on the radio. I think the coolest thing was, for every single one of them, and there has been no exception, they have all been just as cool, like before we record and afterwards, as they are what you see or hear on our pod. They're all real supportive folks, and they're folks that want to see us succeed. So it's been an honor to have them on our podcast, and looking forward to more collaboration with 98.5 in the future.
And Eric, to that, I think one of the most unique pod experiences that we've had guests was Grandy. Grandy took the time to meet with us while he was at his son's hockey practice, and he was like really invested, like giving us like good takes, and I was really impressed with him, and it was awesome that he really gave us that time, and he's the voice of the Celtics, so.
And just to piggyback on what you guys, you really touched all of the heads of the nails here. But as far as 98.5 goes, I want to say one of the biggest things that they've done is not only have they, taken time out of their schedule to come on and talk with us, but they've also given us kind of like tips and tricks on how to go about doing what we're doing. And I think that from a bigger standpoint than anything means more than them just coming on, because we're just 5 guys from Boston and they don't really know who we are. And then, we kind of explain what we're doing, and, they're giving us tips and tricks on how to actually succeed in this type of environment and field and profession. And that, I think, more than anything than their appearance and them, contributing to our podcast is more of a big thank you, because that has really helped us to get us to where we are today. Because 2 years ago, every other word we were saying was, and we've come a long way, boys. And 98.5 is, has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head. I don't know if I have too much more to add to all that, but just what stood out to me was their support for us. And not just one of them, but all of them were really supportive of what we were doing, and, just like wished us well and continued success. And I thought they also just flawlessly kind of fit in with the bros, like they are, at the end of the day, they're just bros. And although they're like what some people may say, like famous in the Boston area for being on the radio, like they're just down to earth people that, like talking about sports. And we couldn't thank them enough for coming on here and helping boost the BSB brand, as we would say.
Absolutely. I mean, you always know whenever we're doing an episode with a guest from 98.5 that it's going to be a good one, and it's going to be a sort of a seamless episode. As Gabe mentioned, they fit right in. Everything that you guys said in terms of just what they've meant to the show and the legitimacy that they've given us to have those talented folks on the podcast definitely helps us in being able to expand our audience and reach. So just a big thank you. All-time episode with Joe Murray, where we had an entire script and we might as well not have that night because Joe drove the boat, and that was one of the most fun episodes that we've had.
As Joe's former coworker, not surprised at all. Not surprised at all.
Fantastic episode with all those fellas. So a big thank you to all of them who have been with us. Another company that we have to give a big shout out to as well, that's been a huge part of the show, is
huge.
Boston's own Barstool Sports, with the likes of Jerry Thornton, as we mentioned already, but also Clem, who's just one of the most awesome dudes of all time and gives us a little bit New York mix in when we need it. Jenks, and we all know Frank the Tank story in terms of what he's done there. And James has done a great job for himself, sort of building out his own brand and appearing on some other shows and different things across Barstool. Marina Maher, who's one of the all-time Bruins fans, would love to have her back on and sort of talk about the season, which was a great episode. And then Elliot, Dave's buddy Elio, who's just come onto the scene even more throughout all the Barstool channels. But big thank you to Barstool.
5.5. Oh,
anything from any of you guys on the Barstool fellas?
Yeah, for me, just really quick, I just have just a really quick take. I know you guys, just like me, we've all been, I had the Barstool sticker on my old MacBook when I was in school, and it's just something that since they started, it's just something that I've always loved. And to have those guys actually come on, for me, it was, at first a little bit of starstruck, but then, as we've had more guests come on, just to actually have that kind of a relationship with those guys over at Barstool, just kind of goes to show how a lot of people label Barstool in a kind of bad light. They're really, really nice guys. They're down to earth and nice guys and girls, I should say. And they're not the company that a lot of people thinks they are, and nothing but good things to say, because I've supported them from day one.
Just want to say, like, it's so cool that like people that I was reading blogs of, basically 20 years ago, aka, Clem, I know it wasn't exactly 20 years ago, but Jerry, I know you were reading them that long ago. To have them on and to be able to shoot the shit with them, and for all kinds of different reasons, to be able to talk Patriots with Jerry is just so cool. Obviously, Clem, being a New York guy, is fun to talk about the Knicks and the Giants and all that stuff, but also the pop culture stuff. And then also really want to shout out Jenks too, just because I think what he's been able to do with Frank and the journey that Frank has been on and his health journey has been extremely inspiring. And as someone who has been on their own health journey, it is something that I think has really resonated well with me. I even went back and looked at a clip we took from the time we had Jenks on, and I look and I feel like a different person. So would love to have Jenks on again and be able to continue to ride that train.
Yeah, I mean, Biggie, if you're not lying. If you look at some of the clips from our earlier episodes and to where you're at now, a big big kudos to you and everything you've done in your own personal health journey. We've seen it every week in terms of showing up here, and know you're on a great track. So it's
Hey
been
Jenks,
awesome
let's
to
go. Let's
see.
get that. Let's get the Frank's walk going. I'm ready for a Frank's walk.
We'll do it. That would be excellent. Take a
With the
take a
brothers.
That
nice
was
lap
cool
or
too,
two.
because like that was, I think, right in the beginning when they
Yes.
had just kind of really taken off with that idea. And to look at it, I think they're still doing it today. And Frank's
Yeah.
just lost like crazy amount of weight, and
He's done it through
Jenks,
blizzards.
yeah, it's pretty incredible what they're doing together. Jenks is certainly inspirational. Jerry was hilarious. He had me pretty much laughing the whole episode, and the after sex glow of beating the Bengals in week 1 was just like the
Part of the
ultimate.
Patriots season that
Spot
year,
on.
I'd say.
It was. That was the highlight of the season and the highlight of my life. And it's just he's a great guy. We will protect him from Ted Johnson.
We will
Absolutely.
protect Jerry 100%.
Jerry is family. Jerry is absolutely family. Fuck you, Ted. Okay. We got a few other guests that we got to shout out. I mean, we have guests that have joined us from all different sort of stations and other media places throughout the course of Boston. We've had different people on that were in radio. We've had musical guests on. I mean, we really have covered the gamut here, fellas. So anybody else that's on here, try and, have one person sort of take each person here and sort of run down the list. But let's start with Jemai. Anyone want to? Sammy K, you got to talk about Jemai.
Yeah, for me, watching the Red Sox every single game when I did have Nussin, it was just, my buddy Wally, I would, Jemai's doing his thing and talking about the Sox, and my buddy Wally's right behind him making faces on TV. And to have the sideline guy from the Red Sox come on and talk Red Sox baseball was really it really meant a lot. I mean, for me, especially being such a huge Sox fan, to be able to kind of dive deep and to be able to get someone's who's on the inside, their actual point of view on things, and get a better understanding of how everything's working with the Red Sox was huge. So, huge shout out to Jemai, not only for coming on once, but for coming on twice with
Annual
us.
tradition with Jemai.
Yeah,
Every
and-
off season, Jemai has said that he will
Yeah.
come on and we'll do our annual
and
episode.
and
with
it's
him.
huge. And again,
that.
we'll the more that obviously I'm in school and working and haven't been able to get to Fenway, but if I do, me, I try to make it my
Yeah, you make it a Sammy K.
I make it I
experience.
make it a Sammy K experience. I
Have you
try
ever
and
seen
get
the
up
Sammy K at a dead show? My goodness.
and visit and
Meeting
visit my
every-
people.
Meeting
So
everyone.
I mean,
How you doing?
Yeah. exactly. Try and go up and meet and see all my people in all different various locations, and
Having a
just
good
have
time.
Jemai, and just to be able to probably kind of just wave him over, and probably have it would probably take him a little bit to get who I was, but I think he would probably realize who I was and talk to me for a few minutes, and I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
So
The one I want to take is Andy Gresh. I think that was a really cool get.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He was so cool. He was so funny. He definitely fit in with us from the get-go, like just like joking around with us 100%. But I think what was really cool was listening to him and like thinking of the memories of like 98.5 and like the real start of 98.5, which was Gresh and Zolak from 2010 to 2015, I believe. So for those 5 years, I totally remember just listening to them, and they were a staple of, the 10 to 2 hours. So I really thought that was a cool interview, a really good get. And again, he was just really down to earth and
He's a great Rhode Island guy too.
great Rhode Island. Yeah.
Guy.
He knows his shit too. So he knows his football. So that was a fun one. Definitely a fun one.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I mean, sorry.
No,
No,
go
it's
ahead.
just give Uncle Lee a quick shout out. If he's listening to this episode, I appreciate him. And we all appreciate him, joining the podcast and giving his Philadelphia take on the sports landscape. And, it's been awesome that you guys have been able to meet him and put a face to the name, and like that an actual like relationship has kind of like started there because of this podcast. And that's been really cool for me to watch. And then another lady I'd like to shout out is Kayla Burton. She crushed it on the podcast. She had nothing but nice things to say about us, and wanted us to continue with good success. And she was really cool. She had great takes, and you could tell that she was like enthusiastic and like gave it like she wanted to be there, and that was a great experience.
Yeah, just
Favorite
adding to
part
that
of
one about
the
Kayla, real quick.
go yeah, go ahead.
It like as someone who's her family, I think, has meant a lot to New England sports, starting with her grandfather being a New England Patriot, her dad being
Steve.
the sports director for WBZ, and growing up watching him reporting live from all these events. Obviously, Kayla doing what she's doing right now with NBC Sports, but also starting off at NFL Network. And then her sister, going off with the Golden State Valkyries, and her brother Austin, being a college quarterback. I think it's just really cool to have someone with like that connection in New England link up with us, and like you said, Gabe, very supportive. One person I do want to shout out here as well, and I feel like I'd be remiss if I did not mention this one because
Hey,
specifically,
you got something on your mind, Eric. Why don't you get it off your chest?
I think that's exactly it. We got the Big Bang Clock, Brandon Merriweather, one of the most memorable guests we've had interview, and just, I think in general, a great dude, and a dude that's doing a lot still in New England.
Philanthropic to a T,
No,
man.
he's still doing like back,
Dude,
no,
he is.
He's still doing backpack races.
He's got the backpack drives.
for
He's down in
broadcast-
Miami doing his things down in Miami.
The seventh
No.
floor crew. Philanthropic to a T. That's good.
Well, hey, we're not talking about third like Greg here, okay? We're talking about Brandon Merriweather.
That's so good.
The Big Bang Clock. So, but no, truthfully, Brandon was awesome, and we can't wait to have him on again just to hear his insight and what he's thinking about. It was also really cool to also talk to him about the University of Miami and asking how they were going to do in the lead up to their season that they just went to the national championship game too. So Brandon
that.
is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to both college and pro football.
Anything else
go
on your
back.
mind, Biggie?
That's it. I shared everything.
If you go back to that episode, he predicts Miami getting to the national championship. He said that. Just
a bit of a
shouting out some
homer
of the
take, but
Yeah.
but it's true.
in
Alma mater.
regard to Caleb Burton, Boston loyalty and royalty, if you call back to that one. Also, the favorite part of Caleb Burton was like, all right, I gotta go. I gotta get on to Boston sports tonight.
Yeah.
And literally ran out the house doing her makeup, which was awesome. We also, you gotta shout out some of these other guys. Maury from Channel 7, awesome dude to have on and just talk all things Boston sports. Cadlick, one of our favorite people
Yeah,
to
the
talk
boys.
Patriots with. And
Yeah, hell yeah.
a guy that is from these parts as well, fits right in with the crew. Pete Shepard, like Gresh, was an awesome interview, and getting to talk to him, another Rhode Island guy who's now down in Florida, but he was there with the Big Show until sort of the golden years at WEEI. Some of the musical folks that have joined us, certainly Cousin Sam of Ripe,
Big shout out.
and their journey over the past couple of years. If you're a Ripe fan, they're playing a ton of shows in this area over the next
It
2
is.
weeks. So
See
check
them.
out their website. They still got tickets. They're down in Hyannis on Thursday. They're at the Melody tent there, and then they're at the South Shore Music Circus on Sunday. So 2 shows local. Go get your tickets and go. Ron Poster, organist at the TD Garden for the Bruins, another great guy. Also doing Sinatra Sunday. Then you're weaving in the Bravo Boys, because Sinatra Sunday is with Rich Damari, who's Rosie Damari's husband. There's your Bravo Boy minute, baby.
Bravo boy!
Life. Ron Poster, fantastic. Mike Galtieri, absolute fucking character. Loved him in BC football. What's up, Trevor? And what's up, Trevor? Trevor Haas, first
Oh,
ever guest,
true.
tied for most appearances, I believe, with Karen.
Love Trevor.
And Trevor's just, really to have Trevor on episode 2 of the show was so important for us, because I think people saw, okay, these guys aren't just coming on every week to be able to just do it themselves. They're going to have some people, and Karen right after as well. To have them back to back, episode 2, episode 3. I think Bresh said it 30 episodes in. Oh, you had Karen on. That let people know that what you were doing might be a little bit different from some of the other folks doing this. Savage Boston and what he's got going on, fantastic. Dr. Dubin, men's health episode, that's a good listen for sure. John Corrales, after calling him out on Twitter and coming on for an episode, that was fantastic. And then got to give a shout out to our buddy Erky, who we love and is our near and dear New Yorker, coming on as well. And he's been so happy and throwing up on himself about how the Knicks won. It's fucking incredible. And then we have our lovely friend Gail, who we had a great conversation with about the Bruins. Gail, perhaps the biggest Bruins fan there might ever be. Nothing is wrong in Bruins land, according to Gail. So
Sunshine and rainbows.
That's all the guests. I think we
Sunshine and
shouted out
rainbows.
every single guest that we've had on the show in the last 20 minutes. So a big thank you to all of them for jumping on. All right, fellas, let's talk about some of the other things here. Let's do this. If it relates to the sport that you are sort of the head of, you know what I mean by that, take it and give a 10, 15-second comment on it. Sammy K, start us off.
Yeah, sure. So even though it wasn't my quote unquote clip, our probably biggest moment of the show thus far was the John Henry being the most greediest sports owner and selling Yankees stuff at the team office. And again, that got like over 400,000 views. It had like 14,000 comments or something like that. And it was, or 800 comments and, 200,000 hats off to Plotty for, that clip and getting it to go viral and kind of literally getting us from like, I think we at the time had 200 followers. We went all the way up to 400. So that was a huge jump and a huge clip for us.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Moving on, Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini, the story of the summer of 2026, really like the spring actually. But wow, yeah, that was a crazy one. No one really saw that coming, and I don't think there's been any resolution to it. It's funny how it just kind of got swept under the rug, and there's really been nothing. So that was an interesting one to
Leave
say
them alone.
the least.
Yeah, let love flourish.
I'm starting to think that the partners might have been okay with the situation. I don't know. Who knows? But you never know. You never know what goes on behind closed doors.
Speaking about behind closed doors, and something I want to put very much behind me is the JB trade and blowing the 3-1 series against the 76ers. Not a great thing that happened, but it's something that happened, and we have to talk about it. But I'm shutting the door on that, and we're moving forward to a new season.
Absolutely. One thing our podcast, through these 100 episodes, we went through a World Cup that was held in the United States of America and Canada and Mexico as well. We
don't
shared,
talk about them. We don't talk about them.
And just how the Scottish, the Tartan Army took over Boston, drank all our beer, effed all our women,
All of it.
and
All
and,
beer.
and returned back to the Scottish land that they came from. They really brought a great energy, a joy that Boston, I think, really needed. And that was a great time to experience the World Cup with my bros.
It was so cool. We became sister cities with
Yes.
Edinburgh.
I love it.
I think I'm gonna do a little sandwich here. I'm gonna do 2 in 1. I think the first one that we have to call out was Gerard Mayo and Matthew Judon with the ship him out west comment that Gabe made in one of our podcasts. And they actually did ship him. It wasn't west, but they did ship him out. So you have to call that out. And boy, did
This
they
is
get
more West than
Before
you
you go
think.
on that one, I also got to shout out Plotty for that one, because Plotty called 98.5 and was like, "Hey
Oh,
guys,
that's right.
we know that
was on a cell
Judon was
phone.
on Instagram during practice today because he liked
liking our
our
stuff.
story."
Yeah, that's
Fucking
crazy.
idiot.
Yeah,
So
that was
yeah,
crazy.
just that also was unreal too, to know that we had a current NFL player liking our content.
So just to put that in perspective, again, that was like early on in the podcast to where we were last February, where the Pats had a run to go to the Super Bowl for Super Bowl 60 was just absolutely incredible. The tale of two ends of where they've been at in the last 2+ years is just absolutely insane to me. Couldn't call that if you tried.
Nope.
Couldn't
Nope.
bet on that. Nope.
And with firing and hiring, the same thing kind of goes for the Red Sox too. Just like the Pats went through Gerard Mayo and picked up Mike Vrabel, same thing can be said with the Sox. We unfortunately parted ways with Alex Cora after some time. We all know it was a front office ownership kind of a conflict, so it is what it is. Hopefully Chad Tracy can get that interim title taken off of him and he can become full term.
We got to call out Marathon Monday, couple, one of the best days in the city for sure. And we obviously know the impact of everything that happened a while back in 2013. But I got to shout out Gabe in that spot in Brookline that we had many a fun Marathon Mondays at.
Yeah.
being able to walk right down to Beacon Street and sort of the vibe in Beacon Street and Coolidge Corner area for the marathon is a really fun one. So great marathon Monday is always one of the best ones in the city and one that brought us all together. Hey, Matt, let's talk about another event that brings us together every year.
That's going to be where am I?
March
March fucking Madness. Yeah, we try and get together with the boys every single year. We've done it tradition now for what, 2 years running, I'd say, or 3, 2?
Year 4.
Four.
I think.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
more.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So that's always a great time. Definitely when Plotty slid off the couch was absolutely so memorable. It was a bad beat to beyond bad beat. So that's the madness in a nutshell. It's you could get those bad beats, but you could really rake in terms of betting if you're with the boys having a good time and really really locked in. So always love March Madness that time of year.
Yeah. Another great event that we had this year was the Olympics, and the U.S. hockey team shoved their gold medal down Canada's throats. So that was lovely to see. Jack Hughes scoring that beautiful overtime winner, and all was right in that moment when the Eagle just soared on through with the gold medal in its clutches. So, like that's a moment you don't really forget.
Yeah. And
That was an amazing moment.
Yeah, and I was going to say another big moment not big moment, but controversial moment, definitely, so to speak, where, again, the Red Sox were kind of dragging their feet through the mud, was the signing with Alex Bregman. He's over in Chicago, pretty much putting up identical numbers as
Crushing
Caleb
it.
Durbin. So, I mean, hey, it is what it is. The players kind of ultimately look the same right now. I guess we would take Alex Bregman in a postseason play over Durbin, but again, Durbin's been doing his thing, so
I like
it's hard to-
Durbin.
yeah, it's hard to
Durbinator.
compare.
I like
Durbinator.
the Durbinator's been great. Big
It
grand
did.
slam up in Toronto last week.
Big.
Some big hits across the course of the season. Keep us going.
You want to know what's been a big hit? It's been a more of a newer trend, and we can thank Wes and Amanda for this, but it is the Bravo Boys. The Bravo Boys, Plotty and Big E, are here with your Bravo Minute weekly on what's happening in the Bravo sphere, so you can stay up to date with your lady on what they're watching in the Bravo sphere.
That's right. That's really why we do it. Shout out to all the misses of the podcast.
And another thing that I always like to think about when it comes to the podcast is there's one particular time where I think all 5 of us absolutely lost it, and it was at Gabe's old place, and he had his cat Pumpkin hanging out behind him. And let me just tell you, Pumpkin was going to town on himself, and he was clear in view, and I just absolutely lost it. So that's one of my favorite moments.
They've made many appearances on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, they have. There are our 6th and 7th hosts.
That
You
was
never
that
know
was
what
the most
may be
provocative
going on
though.
in the background. You
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah, that was.
Gabe,
that
you got
was-
some more to go.
That was something. Oh boy, the Sun on number 1. We had a
Going to Houston.
moment.
Unbelievable.
I know.
They're now number 0.
Yeah, they're the second worst team in the WNBA this year. They're close to being the number 1, but no, that was
the biggest loser.
that was kind of a fun last hurrah for that Sun team, and the WNBA has kind of lost my interest, but that's a whole nother story to talk about. But yeah, the Sun are moving to Houston. Oh, and I gotta and the Bruins. Remember the Bruins, guys?
Yeah. It was an up and down year.
That Bruins roller coaster. We've been on the
week
roller
was a
coaster
new
probably
Gabe.
since the start of this podcast with the Bruins, and it doesn't look to it looks to continue on the same way. Maybe
Been on
this
the roller
year as
coaster
well.
since the day I was born with them. Literally.
It's
Yeah,
like the Yankee Cannonball. It's still holding together after all this time, and you're just still wondering, when is it gonna break? When is it gonna break?
That's a great analogy, Eric. Great.
It
pull.
really is. Yeah.
Really is. Sam,
Shifting
touch on
things
this one. This was
shifting things to something
episode.
kind of sad, but something that finally, and I'll just talk for like 30 seconds on this really quickly. As you know, a lot of older heads will say that younger heads like ourselves don't really know what the Grateful Dead is like because we didn't get to experience Jerry and what Jerry's passing meant to them and how significant that was. But and again, I don't like that people pass, but we had the privilege to see Bob, between Plotty and myself and you guys, anywhere from 5 to 20 times. And that was just huge. And to now be able to say that we've had Bob touch us, not in that kind of way, but in a way that is going to, affect our souls and our hearts and keep friendship around and love and peace and all that stuff. We now know what the older heads meant when they said that. We didn't know what it was like being a deadhead because we didn't have Jerry, but we had Bob.
He almost touched us at Fenway.
We were close.
He walked right by.
Sherm screaming, "It's the guy from Rat Dog."
You want to know what's another thing that we want to try and forget, and something that we honestly try to avoid even saying this word. So I'm going to try and say this word without saying it. But there was a monumental injury that happened in the 2025 postseason where one Mr. Jason Tatum might have torn a ligament of a certain persuasion. And yeah, that was pretty bad. I'm glad he's back, though. Needs to step it up this year. We need a big year from him now that he's now going to be officially the one option with no 1B behind him. So, yeah, we said what it is without saying what it is.
What do you mean option number 5 in Philadelphia now? I mean, whoops. Sorry.
Four.
4.
Come on.
Coming off the bench, what? We had a Brad Marchand trade.
That rat.
That was pretty devastating, I would say, for Bruins fans. Kind of was a sign that the Bergeron, Marchand, Krejci era was over, and it's kind of on to the next generation. And that was tough for Bruins fans, especially with him going to the Panthers and the way that kind of unfolded. That was tough, but we also had lots of Swayman contract. That was a whole debacle, and it ended up working out. And I think that Swayman has started to earn that contract. He's played well this past season, and he definitely just needs to continue to build on his game. And then we also had Montgomery. Monty was fired, and now we have Marco Sturm as our head coach. I love Monty. I thought he was a great head coach. I thought he brought a good personality, a good energy to the locker room. Was kind of like a player's coach, and kind of sad that didn't work out in the long run. But Marco Sturm seems to have some good promise too.
Hopefully, he can bring some winning ways to the Bruins, and a deep playoff run is upon us this upcoming season. The 2024 Summer Olympics really was there when we got started to carry us while training camp was going on. The storyline of Tatum just really not playing at all was something that we were paying attention to. And then as the games went on, you did see this big three of LeBron, KD, and Curry sort of start to take over. And what Steph Curry did in that gold medal game against France, it will be shown in basketball highlights for all time. Those 3-pointers that he hit, specifically the one where he just went behind the back and sort of was fading away from 30 feet away to ice the game, was one of the coldest things. And because it was for Team USA, the fact that we were all able to root for Steph Curry for once in a game like that, when we got absolutely massacred by him 2 years beforehand in the finals, it was sort of so that was awesome. Something that's been an awesome story that's been absolutely crazy is Bill Belichick and the whole Jordan Hudson situation that took place and is still taking place, and the saga that brought us, the exercises on the beach, all the photos, her involvement, just an insane story when it comes to Belichick and all the off the field stuff. Be interested to see if UNC is a team that makes any sort of strides or improvements this year. There's been a lot of shit going on at UNC if you've been keeping up with the news.
I was just going to say, I'm excited to see how they play this year, but didn't his right-hand man
Lombardi out.
He's done, right? He's gone.
And Steve is on medical leave right now too, their defensive coordinator. So a lot of things kind of jumbled in UNC right now for Bill Belichick.
Sounds about right for him.
And that'll segue us perfectly into the next portion after I finish our last big kind of story that we kind of covered, and that's the amount of business meetings that we had at various different Asian cuisines across New England, Han's Palace in Warwick near the marina, the infamous temple that is no longer around, and then finally my favorite place where we had Mr. Strongman created, and we stopped counting plates and started counting the number of grill plates that they would change as Gayukaku, and
Don't
I needed
turn
my
down my
spinach.
don't turn down my
Yeah.
flame either.
so
Yeah,
I
don't you dare turn
definitely
down that flame.
I definitely look
turn down-
forward to going back to the
Do it.
Kaku, because I have a gift certificate that I need to use, and it's been some time, and that cheesy buttercorn's calling my name.
Did you go to the
Just a
Han
word.
yesterday?
No, did you guys
No.
end up going on?
It was a pickup. It was a pickup on the way
It was
home.
a pickup order. I do think for our listeners, if you see the boys out and we're all together and we're not at a Chinese food restaurant or an Asian food restaurant of any sort, it's not a business meeting. It has to be an Asian restaurant of the Asian
Correct.
persuasion. Otherwise, it's not a business meeting.
Just a regular meal.
Good segue.
Which
Speaking of
leads
meals,
to the lightning round, where we'd be remiss if we did not each give you our summertime food recommendations. One of the best things we've done with the guests as well is get their food recs. We talk about food as well, as Kraz just mentioned, business meetings at all the fantastic Asian establishments. But fellas, let's give some of our summer spots out to the listeners. Sammy K, take it away.
I will. I'll kick it off. My favorite spot that I advise you guys to try is up on Federal Hill in Providence, called Casarino's. It's a lovely 3-floor restaurant, and their service is fantastic. All the way down to, I'm a stickler for real olive oil with my bread, and they already have the Parmesan cheese in there and the garlic with the oil. So it is fantastic.
Love that. My summer place is the Matunic Oyster Bar down in Matunic, Rhode Island. Obviously, they had the big fire there about a year ago, but they rebuilt with the sort of mobile operation in the tent. Still as good as ever, and I know they're rebuilding the main restaurant right now, but Matunic Oyster Bar is some of the best seafood you can get. In my opinion, a top 5 restaurant in the world. J-Matt, another fantastic place that you have.
If you're looking for some seafood that's probably not up to like the East Matunic, the Matunic Oyster Bar standard, but still really good. Lounge Clam Shack in Warren, Rhode Island. Awesome spot. Get ready to wait in a line if you go there on a Friday or Saturday night. That's for sure. You'll be waiting for about like 30, 40 minutes, but you can get your drinks, wait in line. It's pretty cool. Tons of
Waterfront
open
eating.
seating. Yeah, right on the water, right on the bay. So it's just a great time. So highly recommend it.
I'm going to keep this seafood train rolling, and just over the border from Boston into Winthrop, right over the border, we got Belle Isle Seafood. And Belle Isle is a good seafood place if it's cash only. And let me tell you, this place, the parking lot is always full. Come get yourself a nice lobby roll and watch the planes take off and land by Logan Airport. It's a personal favorite of me and the missus. So
All modes of transportation over there in East Boston. Gabe,
we got planes, trains, automobiles, and boats. We got it all.
I'm going. If it's summer spots, I'm going down to Galilee. I'm going to either George's, a Galilee,
baby.
or I'm going to Champlin's. They're right next to each other. Champlin's is just a no frill, like just you get
Go up
what
the
you
stairs.
get. You get a big plate of seafood. You can get a great drink at the bar there. You're right on the water, and the food is always great. George's is also a cool place, and they have a nice patio, and it's right by the beach. I mean, how could you go wrong?
Can't go wrong. George's has that great little tiki bar right on the beach as well.
That's right.
And
yeah.
They bought
for
from
the
Charlio's, I think.
And they got that nice Charlio's patio, as Gabe mentioned there. Shout out to the URI fan bases. So there's your summer recs in terms of where to get your food. We're going to hop on the pike and park the car here at the end of the episode. The Sox are in a game against Arizona and got a few more this week. Then San Francisco comes back into town. So Devers back in Fenway, as well as potentially Marcelo Mayer. So that could be an interesting series.
Hey,
and I will have boots on the
see?
ground.
You know who you're not going to see for the
7-0.
Diamondbacks this series? Kendall Marte, because
I saw that.
he just got put
Yeah.
on the
DFA.
the DFA. Did you say DFA? He didn't show up
More
to
impor-
Fenway with the rest
Whatever.
of the team.
More importantly, the Red Sox are up 7-0. They're in a bit of a jam right now. Bases loaded, top 6, 1 out. So, but
Bayo's got to get out of this.
keep stacking wins.
keep stacking the wins here. Foul ball. Pats, Eagles, joint practice, preseason game number 2 this week on Thursday. We'll recap it next week. Fellas, anything else to end the episode for the Pike or anything else you want to mention?
No, I just want to
in
also
regards to
100.
100.
I just also want to thank all the listeners for being loyal and taking the time to, hear us in our takes. And yeah, thank you all the loyal listeners. That's all I have. That's all I have for you.
Yeah. No, thank you to our listeners. You guys, we wouldn't be anything without you guys. So thank you guys for being loyal and listening to us and, keeping us going on our journey here.
You allow us to keep getting better.
Absolutely. Thank you to the listeners. Thank you to our families and significant others and, the close-knit community that's checked in on the pod. And we really appreciate it. It's been fun to do. I will say, we're looking to grow. We're looking to take that next step as a podcast. We're open to having conversations with other people in terms of helping us being able to get there. And we've talked about some of the people who have helped get us to where we're at. So if you're in that space and you're somehow listening or catching this, always feel free to reach out on the socials. We're here to interact. We're here to give our takes, and we really appreciate it. And with that being said, near, far, wherever you are, we appreciate all of you tuning in. Thank you for being with us for 100 episodes. Here's to 100 more, fellas. Good evening. We'll see you later.
Here's to 100 more, boys. Good night.
See ya.
Later, guys.
Peace.